Ryan's not here. It looks like we got everyone else that's usually here. So welcome back. Happy New Year. Just change my camera. Okay, there we go. Really close. All right. So happy New Year, everyone. It's good to see you. I was just saying, I feel like I haven't seen you guys in a while. Jackie was just saying she feels like she has because she was watching the videos. So if anyone else has been watching, but it's good to see you all again. So go ahead and find that comfortable space on your mat, which is going to look different for everyone, but for anyone who might be new to my classes, if you're watching on YouTube, I like everyone to start in a position that feels comfortable for you. So I suggest lying down on your back. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, there's a million options. You could lie on your side. You could stay seated. Sometimes that feels more comfortable for people. Sometimes you want to bend your knees instead of lying back, or bring the soles of your feet together with your knees out to the side, almost like a butterfly pose. So lots of choices. Find something that feels comfortable for you. Close your eyes if they're not already. And then just start to slow down your breathing. So we are at the beginning of a new year, which is a fresh, exciting time, a new start, a great opportunity to think about the year ahead, a great opportunity to set some goals and intentions. So I always talk about intentions at the beginning of your class, and an intention can really be something that you hold on to as long as you want. For some people, and sometimes it's just for that class. It's something that you're going to focus on for the next hour. Sometimes it's for a week, sometimes it's a month, a season, you get the idea. So we're at the beginning of the year. So maybe there's something that you're working on this year or want to work on, something that you are going to create more of in your life this year, or something that you're going to let go of this year. Something that you want to send out to someone else, some healing energy, some love. Maybe it's just sending it out to everyone, maybe not one individual person. Finding balance, I always suggest that one. It's a great one. Breathing, finding moments throughout the day to breathe. So when we come to our mats in our yoga practice, we breathe really well. Sometimes you forget to do it the rest of the day. So making it your intention to take those really good, healthy breaths throughout your day. Those are just some examples, but take a moment to think about that now. And then when you're ready, you're going to take one more breath in and then start to make your way into a full body stretch. So if you were already lying back, you're just going to reach the arms up. If you had your legs bent, you'll straighten them, or maybe turn onto your back if you weren't already on your back. Just start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, little side to side movement. Sometimes I like to reach my left fingertips and kind of stretch to the left side of the body, and then reach my right fingertips, stretch to the right side of the body. Whatever feels good for you. On the next inhale, the knees start to draw in towards the body. The arms wrap around your shins as you give yourself a little hug. Starting to move here, maybe side to side, or maybe a circular motion with the knees. Starting to massage the back of the body a little bit. And then we're just going to place both feet on the mat, keeping your knees bent. Extend that right leg long. And as you inhale, lift that right leg up. Bring the hands behind the leg as you start to draw the right leg towards you. Kind of massage the back of that leg, bend and straighten the knee, roll out the ankles, so just moving that leg and that foot a little bit. If you have a strap at home, it could be a tie, a rope, or they do make yoga straps. It can be a nice prop to use to kind of wrap it around your foot. You don't have to, you can bring your hands behind your leg, but just giving you some ideas if you do have something like that at home. Sometimes people like to hold on to that strap and sort of draw it towards you, getting a nice opening in the back of the leg. We're going to take that right foot, place it on the left knee. So you're making a triangle shape if you were to kind of look up at your legs. Extend your arms out to either side, and then just start to rock the hips from side to side. Little twisting movement through the spine as the right knee comes towards the mat, and then the right foot comes towards the mat. Back and forth a couple times. Just using this warm up as a time to start to check in with yourself, noticing how you're feeling today as you come to your mat. Maybe you did a lot of practice on your own, or you were exercising or stretching while you were off these past few weeks, or maybe you didn't. Either way is fine, but you'll start to kind of notice that maybe you're feeling a little more stiff, a little more tight than usual. As you come back through center, the left leg is going to lift up off the mat. Interlace your hands behind that left thigh. Flex through both feet. The right and left foot are both flexing as you start to draw the left leg towards you, getting that little stretch in the right hip. Sometimes I like to take my hand and sort of press the right knee away from me a little bit, kind of almost like making a little resistance, like you're drawing the left leg towards you, pressing the right knee away. You can rock it out a little bit. You can bend and straighten the left leg. And then we're just going to slowly bring that left foot down to the mat. The right foot also comes down to the mat as you extend the left leg, lifting it up. And then start to bring your hands behind that left leg, or if you were using that strap, you would wrap the strap around the foot. Sort of start to draw the left leg towards you, massaging the back of the leg. So you're never forcing or pulling anything. You're really just kind of holding the pose and allowing your breath and your body to start to warm up to the pose. And in doing so, you can slowly start to draw the leg closer and closer to you. So each time you breathe, take a breath in, and as you exhale, maybe that leg comes just a little bit closer. But again, not forcing anything. And then that left foot can come to the right knee, lifting that right leg up off the mat as you flex through both feet again. Start to draw the right foot towards you, or the right leg. Maybe gently pressing the left knee away. I can feel this a lot more on my left side today. It's so interesting how we feel things differently on different sides and different days. That's pretty normal. And then slowly placing that right foot back down on the mat, left foot back down on the mat. You can draw your knees in towards you again so that your hands come behind your thighs, just so that we can start to rock our way back up to a seated position. So maybe taking a couple rocks along the spine if that feels comfortable. And then eventually finding a seat with your legs crossed. If you have a blanket or a pillow or a block and you like to use it as a prop, go ahead and slide it under your hips so that you're sitting on it. That can feel comfortable sometimes. And then just let your hands rest in your lap or on your knees. You start to sit up really nice and tall. So take a moment now, kind of continue to slow down. We had a nice little warm up, but we want to keep focusing on that slowing down. That's my intention of this class, slow down. I think that's an important one for us to focus on all the time. So take a nice deep breath in, see if you can sit up a little taller. Notice if you were leaning forward, maybe all of a sudden your head is lifting up a little more. Those shoulders are releasing down and back. The chin starts to lift up so that it's parallel to the ground. And then we'll just take a couple rolls with the shoulders. As you inhale, draw them all the way up towards the ears. As you exhale, release them down and back. Couple more times, just like that. And after you've done 2 or 3, go back in the opposite direction, lifting them up backwards and then rolling them forwards. And then the last time, you can go ahead and let them relax all the way down and back. Bringing your hands to your knees if they weren't there already. We're just going to start to circle the upper body, bringing the chest towards the mat in front of you and then rolling all the way around. So letting that spine start to move, start to warm up, create a little warmth, a little heat. Especially in colder months, it can take a little longer to get warm at the beginning of a class. So take that time now. Going back in the opposite direction if you are making circles. And then eventually coming all the way back through center. And we're just going to slowly start to roll the head to the left. So beginning to take circles with the neck, moving to the left. There's always options. If full circles doesn't feel comfortable, side to side, you can kind of just roll it from one side to the other side, getting that stretch in the back of the neck. Also bringing your hands to the shoulders or the neck, upper back, that can feel really nice too. So focusing on dissolving some sort of tension that's up there, going back in the opposite direction if you were making circles, taking it at a speed that feels comfortable for you. Typically with your neck, you want to go a little slower. You don't want to start whipping your head around, but still you'll determine the speed based on what feels comfortable for you. And then once you feel even on both sides, you'll start to make your way all the way back through center, lifting your head back up. On the next breath in, reach your arms up overhead. You're going to bring the left hand to the mat next to you. Start to lean to the left as you reach the right fingertips to the left. You're leaning to the left side, focusing on stretching the right side of the body. You can look under that right arm. And then on the next inhale, all the way back up, reach up, get tall, and then take it over to the right side. Right hand comes down, left fingertips reach, roll that shoulder open and back. And again, lift it up on the inhale. This time on the exhale, we're going to take it forward. Bring the hands to the mat in front of you and start to walk them away from you as far as it feels comfortable. And then pause there. Let your head start to become heavy. So you don't have to hold your head up and look at the computer for now. Let it kind of fall forward in between your shoulders. Take a breath in as you lengthen through the back of the body. And then on the next exhale, maybe you walk the fingertips just a little bit further away from you. And then slowly starting to walk the hands all the way back towards you as you lift back up to a seated position, bringing the soles of the feet together, setting up for a butterfly pose or a cobbler's pose with your hands wrapped under your toes. Take a breath in to lengthen the spine. And then as you exhale, start to fold it forward. The elbows are pressing into the shins. The spine is long and lengthening here. So rather than rounding the back or arching the back, think about continuing to lengthen through the spine, bringing your chest, your rib cage. No, your chest, rib cage is too low. Think about upper chest towards your toes. And then on the next inhale, slowly lift it back up, extending that right leg long. The left foot is going to come to the right inner thigh. Flex the right toes, and as you inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, folding over that right leg. So we did a little warming up of the leg when we were on our backs, but it might still need a little more attention, a little more love. So rubbing the muscles if that feels good, bending the knee if that feels good, maybe even wiggling the toes. We're just going to take 2 or 3 breaths here. On the next inhale, the upper body is going to lift. The left hand is going to come behind you, kind of right behind that left hip. As you press the hips up off the mat, reach the right arm behind you. You're making one long line on the right side of the body. We're going to move here a little bit. We've done this one before. So as you exhale, fold back into that forward fold. 2 more times just like that. Inhale, the arms can cartwheel up and overhead. Press the hips up, lengthen the right side of the body. Exhale as you fold. One last time. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. And then slowly lifting it all the way back up with the upper body. The left foot is going to come to the outside of the right knee as you start to find a twist. So left hand comes to the mat next to you. Right arm lifts up as you inhale. As you exhale, twist to the left. That right elbow is hooking on the outside of the left knee. You're looking over that left shoulder. Sit up nice and tall. Exhale, twist a little bit further. And then just gently coming back all the way over to the right side for a breath. Left elbow to the left knee as you kind of twist the spine in the opposite direction. And then as you make your way back through center, both legs can extend long. You kind of tap the backs of your legs a little bit, shake them out, and then begin to bring the right foot to the left inner thigh. Flex those left toes, and on an inhale, the upper body lifts. On an exhale, we'll fold forward, taking a few breaths here before we start to move. So anything that feels good here. Knee can be bent, foot can be wiggling the toes, whatever. Focusing on those inhales to create the length and then the exhales to fold into it. And then we'll start to take that little flow as you lift up. The right hand is going to come next to you this time as you press the hips up and lengthen to the left side of the body. Exhale, fold it right back down over that left leg. 2 more just like that. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Press it up. Get as long as you can on the left side of the body. Feel that stretch under the ribs. And then fold it back down. One last time. Inhale, lift and lengthen. And exhale as you fold. On the next breath, we'll lift it all the way back up, coming back to seated. Taking that right foot to the outside of the left knee. Right hand to the side of the body. And as you inhale, the left arm lifts up overhead. As you exhale, twist to the right. That left elbow is hooking on the outside of the right knee. You're looking over that right shoulder. Still focusing on lengthening and twisting. And then we'll start to come back through center, over to the left side for just a breath. Sit up nice and tall. And then back through center. Extend both legs, kind of tap them out a little bit. And then we're going to start to make our way into a tabletop position. So coming onto your hands and knees on the mat, coming onto all fours. So the wrists are below shoulders, knees are below hips. Your back is nice and flat to start. And then you can move through a couple rounds of your cat and cow. So on the inhale, the stomach releases down, the gaze goes up. Feel that stretch in the stomach and the throat. As you exhale, the back rounds, arching, pressing up through the spine, and just continue to move there. Thinking of the spine as something fluid, like a whip or an S shape, something that kind of moves in all directions, not just stiff or rigid, if that makes sense. So go ahead and take a couple more rounds, maybe moving the hips from side to side, shaking the head out, rolling the shoulders a little bit, whatever feels good, whatever helps you start to feel a little more comfortable here. And that's going to be different every day. I always encourage people to try different things because sometimes it'll feel good to move your hips if they're a little sore, and then other days maybe it doesn't really do anything for you. So the more things you try, the more you start to see what feels good or what is different. As you make your way back through center, we're going to extend the right leg long. Keep those right toes tucked on the mat. You start to press yourself forward and backwards, focusing on the bottom of the foot. So you're pressing the heel behind you and then using the toes to kind of propel yourself forward. A couple of rounds just like that, getting into all the little muscles in your foot. And then as you come back through center, that right leg lifts, point the toes behind you. Take a breath in, draw the right knee towards your nose, give it a kiss. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more like that. Inhale, knee to nose, round the back. Exhale, extend it long. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, extend. Pausing here, continuing to keep that leg lifted for another second. We're going to slide the left foot off your mat. So kind of just almost like you're making a little kickstand with that left foot. And then you're going to bring the inner arch of the right foot down to the mat. And we're going to find a modified side plank. So the right arm is going to lift up and overhead. So think about bringing your right shoulder towards your ear, creating that really long line on the right side of the body, kind of like we just did a moment ago. Pressing the hips up, stretching under the ribs. Looking up towards the ceiling. If it feels good, you can take a few circles with the arm or with the shoulder. I always like to move my arm, but for some people it feels better just to stay still. So you decide. Maybe taking a few circles in each direction. And then eventually we'll start to close it off, coming back to a tabletop position. Right hand coming to the mat, right knee coming to the mat. Kind of shake your hips out a little bit as you readjust. And then we'll extend the left leg, keeping the toes tucked first. as you start to press yourself forwards and backwards on that left foot. You might feel this in your ankle too. Sometimes my ankles will crack a little when I do this. And then we'll lift that left leg up. Take a breath in as you draw the knee towards the nose, round the back. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more times. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, extend it long. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, extend it long. Pausing here again. This time the right foot is going to slide over off your mat. So just like a couple inches to the right. Inner arch of that left foot comes down to the mat. Left fingertips start to reach towards the top of the mat. So thinking about reaching that left arm overhead almost. Roll the shoulder open as you look up towards the sky. Press up through the hip. And then if you were moving that arm on the other side and it felt good, go ahead and do it again on this side. Big giant circles with that left arm. Allowing the arm to move in any way that feels comfortable. Or stillness. And then we'll slowly start to close it off, bringing that left hand to the mat, left knee to the mat, as we start to find our way into our first downward facing dog. So go ahead and tuck your toes, send your hips up and back. As you start to settle into your downward facing dog, you can kind of move it out a little bit, maybe lifting up your heels and then pressing them back down, rocking out your hips, shaking your head, just similar to what we do in our cat and cow. When we first come onto our knees, we sort of move in whatever way feels good. And then you do the same thing here. You can bend your knees and straighten them, rock it out a little bit. And then taking your gaze towards your hands, slowly just start to walk your feet towards the top of the mat, bringing your feet about hips width distance apart. You come into your first forward fold, holding on to opposite elbows, or maybe bringing your hands behind your head, sort of interlacing them at the back of the head, and folding forward. Letting gravity do the work here. So you are just kind of giving in, not resisting, letting go. Maybe a little bend in the knees if that feels comfortable. And then on the next inhale, we'll slowly start to lift it all the way up, reaching the arms overhead. A little back bend if that feels comfortable. And then as you exhale, hands come to heart center. Good. Let's take another breath in. Reach the arms back up overhead. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold. This time as you inhale, bring your hands to your shins, flat back, nice straight spine. Exhale as you fold. Inhale as you lift it all the way up, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more time, just like that. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Inhale to prepare, bringing your hands to your shins, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Good. Oops. Bring the soles of your, or not the soles of your feet, your big toes together. So if you had a space in between your feet, go ahead and step your feet so that they're a little closer. Reaching your arms up overhead. We're going to interlace our hands and then start to press your palms up towards the ceiling as you relax your shoulders. Take a breath in. As you exhale, lean it to the left side. So one more side stretch, getting into the right side of the body here as you roll that right shoulder open and back, looking under that right arm. And on the next inhale, lift it up again. That lift is important because we don't want to just be bending. We want to be bending with length, if that makes sense. So inhale, lift. Exhale, take it over to the right side. So you're not compressing here. Rather, you're kind of lifting and lengthening. Roll that left shoulder open as you look under the arm. And then on the next inhale, lift it all the way back up. And then as you exhale, big swan dive back down, forward fold. Go ahead and bring your hands all the way back down towards the mat. This time we're going to put a little bend in our knees, bring our hands to the mat, and the left foot is going to step all the way to the back of your mat. So we're in a low lunge or a runner's lunge. You kind of take a couple steps to get there if it helps. You're going to take your left hand, place it on the mat. As you exhale, your right arm is going to lift up for a twist. So taking your gaze towards that right hand. Roll that right shoulder open. Good. And then gently bringing that right hand back down to the mat. The left knee is going to come down. Untuck those back toes. And we're going to bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot. So both hands are to the left of the right foot. And you're just going to kind of walk your right foot out to the side a little bit more. You kind of wiggle it a little bit. So your left hand is going to stay down. You're going to take your right hand and just start to gently press it into the right knee. You can roll to the outer edge of that right foot. Think about pressing the left hip down towards the mat. So that left hip is releasing back as you look towards the right knee. Using that hand on the knee to create a little bit of a twist if that feels comfortable. So maybe you start to look towards your right shoulder. Twisting through the spine and opening up through that hip. Good. And then slowly as you come back through center, you can kind of wiggle that right foot back in a little bit so that it's not all the way out to the side. Take your right hand and bring it back to the outside of the right foot. And then as you exhale, straighten the right leg, press the hips back and fold over that right leg. Half split. We're folding forward over the right leg. And then on the next inhale, the hips press down, the upper body starts to lift up. So we're taking that little flow that we do before we come into Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. So exhale, send the hips back. Inhale, come forward. When you come forward, focus on lifting up through the upper body, maybe even looking up a little bit. Exhale, press the hips back. Taking a couple more rounds just like this. If you have blocks, you know you can always use blocks for your hands or even books or anything, really anything. And then the next time you come forward, we'll start to come into our full expression of the pose. So the hips press down, the upper body starts to lift up. You can bring your hands to your right knee. Think about that left hip, just like we did in the last pose. Think about pressing that left hip down towards the mat. Maybe your hands lift up towards the sky. And then gently bringing your hands back to frame out that right foot. We're going to tuck the back toes, straighten that back leg so you're back in your runner's lunge. And then we're going to make our way. Let's step it back to a downward facing dog while we're here. So you're going to step the right foot back to the left. So now we're in our downward facing dog again. Maybe you take a couple steps, that's fine as you set yourself up here. And then let's roll it forward into a plank position. Shoulders are over the wrists, tailbone tucks under. Your knees are going to come to the mat. And then you're going to slowly, with control, lower yourself all the way down onto your mat. Keep hugging the elbows in towards the body. And then as you inhale, the upper body is going to lift. You can gently press your hands into the mat to lift up if that feels good. If that doesn't feel good, you could also take the baby cobra option where you keep your hands off the mat. Kind of helps protect your back a little bit because sometimes when you press your hands in, you press yourself up higher than your back wants to go. So you decide if you're using your hands or not. And then we're all going to make our way into a child's pose. Go ahead and press your hands into the mat, lift the hips up and back. As you settle into your child's pose, toes come together, knees are a little bit apart. Choosing what you do with your hands. Maybe they stay reaching towards the top of the mat. Maybe you stack your hands on top of each other, making a little pillow for your head. Also bringing the fingertips next to the toes is an option. Sometimes it feels good to be a little more active in your child's pose. If that's the case, having the hands out in front of you and almost like tenting the fingers, so just the fingertips are on the mat. Sometimes that can feel nice, like a little stretch under the arms. You decide what feels best. You're going to take about 2 or 3 more breaths here, coming back to that intention that you had set for yourself at the beginning of class. Coming back to that slow and steady breath, equal inhales and equal exhales. And then once you've taken those 2 or 3 breaths, we'll start to make our way back to our downward facing dog. So if your hands aren't at the top of the mat already, go ahead and walk them back to the top of the mat. Tuck the toes, straighten the legs as the hips bend up and back. Start to look towards your hands and walk your feet to the top of the mat. Forward fold again. Feet can be hips width distance apart as you just sort of hang here. Holding onto opposite elbows, holding onto the back of your head or the back of your legs. Maybe you do the same thing you did last time we were in this forward fold, or maybe you try a different option. And then on the next inhale, we'll slowly lift it all the way up, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands come to heart center. On the next inhale, the arms reach back up overhead. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Fingertips are going to come to the mat, little bend in the knee. This time the left foot is going to stay forward as the right foot steps back to that low lunge. Right hand grounds down, and then the left arm starts to lift up towards the sky. Reach the left fingertips up. Think about creating one straight line from the left hand to the right hand. So the whole arm to arm is one nice straight line. And then gently placing that left hand back down on the mat. The right knee comes down. And we're going to, again, bring the left hand to the inside of the left foot as you start to wiggle that left foot a little further to either right to the edge of your mat or even a little bit off your mat if that feels comfortable. Left hand is going to start to come to that left knee as you press the knee away from you, rolling to the outer edge of the left foot. Think about bringing that right hip down towards the mat and creating that little twist in the spine. And you decide how deep you take it. Maybe it feels comfortable to just work on pressing the knee away from you and kind of looking at the knee. Or if you're focusing more on the twist, maybe you start to look towards the left shoulder. And then we're going to slowly start to make our way back out of that. So as you come back to center, you can start to slide that left foot back to the center of your mat. The left hand can come to the outside of the left foot. And then as you exhale, press the hips back, fold over that left leg as we start to warm up for our Anjaneyasana again. So on the inhale, the hips press forward, the upper body lifts. On the exhale, press the hips back and fold. Go ahead and take a couple more rounds just like this. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale as you send it back. The next time you come forward, beginning to find your Anjaneyasana. So the hips press down, the upper body starts to lift. Same option as last time. Either your hands are resting on that left knee or your hands are reaching all the way up towards the sky. But as always, just being mindful that you're keeping that nice deep hip opener. You want that right hip pressing down. And then gently bringing your hands back to frame out that left foot. We're going to tuck the back toes as you straighten the right leg. And again, step it back to downward facing dog. So this time the left foot steps back to the back of your mat. Same thing, maybe it's a couple steps, maybe it's 1 or 2 big steps. However you need to find that downward dog is perfect. From your down dog, roll it back out into your plank position. Tucking the tailbone, engaging the core. Knees come to the mat as you slowly lower all the way onto your stomach. Again, choosing the lift. So either that high cobra where you start to press your hands into the mat, or that baby cobra where your fingertips are kind of up in the air a little bit. And then we're going to press it back to child's pose. This one won't be as long. Just a breath or two. Go ahead and press the hips to the heels. Finding your child's pose more as just a transition this time. So you'll take a breath or two here. And then we'll be right back in our downward facing dog. When you're ready, the toes tuck, the legs extend, the hips come up and back. As you start to settle into your downward facing dog, And then take your gaze towards the top of the mat and start to walk your feet forward, finding a forward fold. Any variation of your forward fold that feels comfortable. And then one vertebrae at a time, start to lift it all the way up, reach the arms overhead, little back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. Grab a sip of water, shake it out, whatever you might need. And then we are going to step the left foot all the way to the back of your mat, setting up for a warrior one pose. So the back foot is at about a 45-degree angle. Your hips are facing forward, that right foot is facing forward. As you take a breath in, the arms lift up. As you exhale, bend into that right knee, continuing to press down to the outer edge of that left foot. Be mindful that that right knee is staying over the right ankle, or even slightly behind it, just not going over it, forward. From our warrior one, we're going to open it right up into warrior two. So your right hand is going to reach forward, your left hand is going to reach back. As you start to open it up to the left side of your mat, that back foot becomes parallel to the back of your mat. Your hips are facing the left side. The arms are parallel to the ground as you continue to bend into that right knee. Sometimes it can be tempting to forget that the whole point is that we're bending into that knee. You're focusing on so many other things, so you can take it a little bit deeper. And then slowly straightening that right leg. You're going to turn your left toes to face the same direction as your right. So you're facing the side of your mat. Take a breath in as you lift your arms up overhead. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Taking any movements that feel good here. So rocking side to side can feel good. Bending one knee and then the other. Walking your hands to one leg and then the other can sometimes feel good. You're going to take about 3 or 4 breaths here. So just kind of moving with the body, with the breath. And then on the next breath, you'll start to bring your hands to your thighs and just gently press yourself all the way back up to standing. And we're going to shift so that we're doing that same thing towards the back of your mat. So the left foot is now the front foot facing the back of your mat. So turn the left toes so they're facing the back of your mat. Your right foot is going to be at about a 45-degree angle as you set up for your warrior one facing the opposite direction. So take a breath in, reach those arms up. As you exhale, bend into that left knee. You might need to adjust your stance a little bit. So I just slid my foot back a little bit, my right foot, that's okay. If you need to press that right hip forward a little bit so that your hips are even with each other. Usually the left hip wants to be in front, so try to dial the left hip back, send the right hip forward, continuing to bend into that left knee. And then we'll start to open up into our warrior two. So for warrior two, the left hand comes forward, the right hand comes back. That back foot is now parallel to the back of your mat. As you continue to bend into that left knee, maybe even a little deeper in this pose. And then again, straightening that left foot or left knee, turn the left toes to face the side of your mat. One more time, wide-legged forward fold. So as you inhale, lift it up. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Maybe a different movement this time. Maybe the hands start to walk out in front of you. Wide-legged down dog, or they kind of walk behind you, drawing the top of your head towards the mat. Or maybe whatever you did on the other side felt really good and you want to do that again. And then just gently starting to bring your hands towards your thighs as you slowly press the upper body up again. And then you can just sort of walk your feet towards each other. So take a couple steps, coming back to standing. Again, shake it out a little bit. Shake out your legs or rock it out from side to side with the arms as you start to make your way back to the top of your mat. We're going to take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold, and step it back to your downward facing dog. The feet step to the back of the mat, one giant step or a couple smaller steps. And then slowly bringing the knees down as you find a tabletop position again. And just go ahead and move through a couple rounds of your cat and cow here. We're going to do our balancing pose from our knees tonight. So we've been here before. You're going to lift that right leg up, point the toes towards the back of the room, finding your balance here first. We're already on 3 of our 4 bases, our hands and our feet. So already getting a little wobbly. If this feels like enough, you're going to hold this for a couple breaths. You want to add on, the left arm is going to lift up in the opposite direction. So opposite arm, opposite leg, reaching in opposite directions, creating that straight line. That core is drawing up and in, it's engaged, it's stabilizing you. And then take a breath in if you want to move. So you have the option, you can either stay still, or if you want to move, you're going to draw the knee, elbow, and nose all together, rounding that back. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more of those. Inhale, draw it in. And exhale, extend it long. And if you're just holding it long, keep working on that. One more time. Inhale, draw the knee in. Exhale, extend it all long. We're going to pause here. You're probably burning because we've been holding this for a while. I can feel it. One last option. Bend that right knee and then start to reach the left arm back for that right leg. You don't have to actually grab the leg. You can just be reaching for it. If you have the foot, you're bringing your hand to the top of the foot, pressing the foot away from you. And now that everything is probably thoroughly burning, go ahead and re-extend your hand and leg. Bring both back down to the mat. Kind of just shake it out a little bit. Rock your hips from side to side as you start to prepare for the other side. So taking the same slow steps that you took on the right side. So the left leg lifts parallel to the ground. That's the first step. If this feels like enough, you'll stay here. If you're adding on, the right arm starts to extend long. So opposite arm, opposite leg. And then if you're choosing to move, take a breath in, draw the knee, the nose, the elbow together. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more times. Inhale, knee, nose, elbow. Exhale, extend it long. One last time, draw it all in, round the back. Exhale, extend it long. Pause here. Final option is to bend that left knee. And then maybe the right hand reaches back. So if you're reaching back for the foot, whether you're holding the foot or not, if you're reaching back for it, you're working on a little bit of a back bend here. So think about lifting up through the heart, gently bending that spine back. And then slowly re-extend everything. And your hand and knee can come back down to the mat. Shake it out a little bit as you rock your hips from side to side. And then we're going to make our way into a seated position on our mats with your feet extending towards the top of the mat. So go ahead and turn over, extend those legs long, kind of settle yourself in as you rock your hips from side to side a little bit, flexing through the feet. And then on the next inhale, the arms lift up overhead. As you exhale, start to fold it forward. So option 2, still add a little bend to the knees. I always like to bend my knees here. It feels good. So if you also feel that way, put a little bend in your knees. If straight feels good, then that's an option as well. Your hands can be resting on your shins, on the ground, on your toes. Kind of wrap your little peace fingers around your big toes. 2 more breaths here, thinking about that length in the back of the body. Each time you inhale, the spine gets a little longer. Each time you exhale, fold it forward. Inhale for length. Exhale to fold. And then on the next inhale, we'll slowly start to lift it all the way back up. Slide so that you're making sure your feet are at the top of your mat so you don't come off your mat when we lower ourselves down. And then when you're ready, arms can extend out in front of you. 1 vertebrae at a time. You'll start to take it all the way down onto your back, finding that full body stretch once you arrive. Fingertips go over your head, big giant stretch, just like we did at the beginning, maybe a little movement from side to side like we did before. Big inhale, and then on the exhale, your hands can start to come to the sides of your body, and you're gonna bend your knees, setting up for your bridge pose. So the knees are coming right to the base of the spine, or right to your tailbone. Your hands are at the side of your body. We're gonna do 2 bridge poses. So we'll come into one, come down, come into the other. So when you're ready, you'll take a breath in, start to press the hips up towards the sky. Your hands have 2 options. They're either pressing into the mat right now or resting on the mat, or you can wiggle your shoulders under you a little bit, kind of giving yourself a little extra height, and then take your hands and start to interlace them under the tailbone. Either option is perfect. So press those hips up a little higher, tucking the chin into the chest. And then we're going to slowly start to come out of this. So 1 vertebrae at a time, begin to peel the spine down onto the mat. Once your tailbone touches, your knees can rock from side to side, kind of like windshield wipers. And we'll start to set up to do it again. We're going to do 2 of those. Same thing as we just did. Set yourself up first. And then when you're ready, you'll take a breath in, start to peel the hips up off the mat, maybe pressing them up just a little higher than you did the first time. If you have a block at home, there's also an option to slide a block under your tailbone. Then it becomes a supported bridge. And there's different benefits. It's a little more restorative because you're not using your own energy or muscles to hold yourself up. But sometimes you can also allow yourself to come into a deeper back bend because you can kind of just melt into that block or surrender into it. So just an option at home if you have a block. And then we'll all slowly start to peel the spine back down onto the mat, bringing the tailbone down, and then just gently letting your hips rock from side to side. And then on the next breath, start to find an inversion. I'm going to give you 2 options. If you're near a wall and you want to slide your legs up the wall, you can do that. If you don't want to do that or you don't have any wall space, we're going to do the same thing without the wall. So the legs will just start to lift up towards the ceiling, almost like your feet are stepping on the ceiling. So nice flexed feet. If you're not using the wall, your hands can either come behind your thighs, sort of hold your legs up a little bit, or you can sort of sit on your hands, kind of like on your tailbone a little bit. That'll feel a little more comfortable than just trying to hold it without any kind of support, because that can be a little intense, unless that's what you're looking for. It'll be a little more of a strenuous exercise versus a cool down exercise. So go ahead and decide whatever version of your inversion you'd like, whether you're using the wall or not, whether your hands are on your legs or not. And then we're going to hold it for about 5 or so more breaths. We want to take a couple breaths here to start to settle in, start to slow down a little bit, maybe even closing your eyes at this point if that feels comfortable for you. See if you can count those breaths, slowing them down a little bit and making them equal on the inhales and the exhales. I like to count a count of 4 inhales and 4 exhale, or 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. Start to create a rhythm like that. And then we'll slowly start to draw the knees back in towards the body. If your legs are up the wall and you want to stay there a little longer, that's fine. You can even stay there for the rest of your practice. That's a great way to do Shavasana if it feels comfortable for you. For the rest of us, draw your knees back in towards you. Kind of give yourself a little hug as you wrap your arms around your shins, maybe even lifting your head up just a little bit, drawing your head towards your knees. And then gently starting to extend your legs long. We're going to come into a fish pose. So your legs are extending long. You're going to bring your hands to either side of the body and then start to press up through the forearms. So you're pressing your upper body up, kind of puffing up your chest almost. Think about lifting up through the heart. If it feels okay, you can let your head release back. If that doesn't feel comfortable, keep looking forward. Either way, think about opening up through the chest, the shoulders, the upper body. And then slowly lowering it all the way back down onto your back. The knees will draw in one last time as we prepare for a final twist. You can extend your arms wide out to either side of you, and then just let your knees release over to the right side. And you're just going to get really comfortable here. So what I mean by that is find a shape that feels good for you. Your arms can be extending wide. They can be in little cactus arms. They can even just kind of be on your stomach if that feels good, or even massaging that left leg. Sometimes it can feel good to cross one leg on top of the other. Maybe play around with that, see how that feels. It can be a little bit of a deeper twist, a deeper stretch in the hips. And sometimes it feels comfortable. You can be looking up towards the ceiling, or you can be looking towards the left, away from the knees. Try to draw the left shoulder down towards the mat, wherever you are. Probably lifting up a little bit, but see if you can relax it down, melt it into the mat. And then gently start to bring the knees back through center as we begin to take them over to the left side. And you'll take whatever variation feels good on this side. Maybe it's the same thing you just did on the other side. Maybe you find that something else feels good on this side. So play around again with where the arms land, whether the legs are crossed or not, where you're placing your head. Go ahead and be intentional with all of that. You can even start to close your eyes if you haven't already. We begin to make our way towards the end of our practice. You can start to slow down the breath, close the eyes, relax the body. And then just gently drawing the knees back through center. The feet can stay on the mat as your knees bend. And then beginning to make your way into your final pose of the evening. So if you'd like, you can just extend your legs long right here, lying on your back. If there's another shape that feels more comfortable, start to make your way into that shape now. Perhaps it's the same shape you started your practice with. Perhaps it's something different that feels good for you at this point. So always being intentional throughout your practice, but being extra intentional right now to really think about where you want to be when you end your practice. Maybe even grabbing a blanket or socks or a sweater or something to make yourself really comfortable, really cozy as you settle into that final pose of your practice, letting your eyes close if they weren't already, letting the body start to become really heavy. Picture yourself just letting go, melting into the mat, just completely dissolving, completely floating, whatever visual feels good for you. Allowing that breath to just float freely through the body, not paying attention to it, just letting it move. As you spend a couple moments here in your Shavasana. Slowly beginning to deepen your breath. Gently starting to bring your awareness back to your body. Very tiny movements with the fingers, or the toes, the wrists and the ankles. Making the movements a little bigger, maybe a full body stretch, reaching the arms overhead or bending or straightening the legs. If you're lying on your back, I invite you to turn over onto your right side with the knees bent, resting your head on your arm, in a fetal position. Taking your last few moments here on your mat. Show a little gratitude for yourself for starting your year in a really positive way, making yourself a priority, doing something that's good for you so that you can do things for others, because that's really what it's all about. We fill up our own cups so we can pour into others. Whenever you're ready, you'll slowly start to make your way back up to a seated position, gently pressing the upper body up as you bring your hands to heart center, keeping your eyes closed or closing them once you sit up. Thank you all for joining me tonight, for bringing your light and your energy with you and sharing it with me. I hope you have the most beautiful night, the most beautiful weekend, and most importantly, the most beautiful year ahead. Until I see you guys again, namaste.